What's happening, everybody? Thank you for coming back. I appreciate you for being here, and today I'm going to be doing a video on something that I think about all the time and probably have a couple things I could add to the conversation. Number one, backlogging is something that is on my channel on almost every one of my videos. What's the reason for that? Well, I'm nearing that dreaded title of gamer at 40 or gamer over 40. That's almost where I'm at. It's next year, and it's in like 4 months, to be honest with you. So backlog games, why do we not get to them? There's a couple reasons. I'm going to go over a couple of those reasons in today's video, and drop a comment down below if you agree or if you have something you want to add to this, because I can think of a couple. I can think of a time. Life gets busy, life happens, life gets in the way, and we end up getting distracted, and those games that we've been looking forward to all day, getting home to, throwing in the Xbox, throwing in the PlayStation, PC, whatever, Switch, you get home and you're like, shit, I forgot to do the dishes. Shit, I forgot to do the laundry. I gotta make the bed. I gotta vacuum. I gotta do the garbage. Next thing you know, you're cooking, you're cleaning up after cooking, you got no time to do anything. Number two, nowadays with digital purchases and your library being always accessible, I call it, well, I don't call it this, I think it's called the Netflix effect. You sit there thinking, I'm gonna play something fun tonight, no real goal in mind, power up your console or your PC or Steam Deck, whatever, and you're flicking through just like the Netflix menu and you can't pick something to actually commit to. So that's number two. Number three, though, is what I want to talk about today, and that's the games that you just keep going back to because they're just that good. I mean, these are the guys that are going to say to you, hey, you ain't going to get to your backlog because we're too damn good. I want to talk about a couple of those games in this video, so you know where I'm coming from. And again, drop a comment down below. What's your go-to game that you just can't put down permanently? You just want to come back to and wrap it up one more time or close off those achievements or trophies. The first game I'm going to talk about today is one that's been with me for many years, and this is the PS5 version. I usually play it on the Xbox. I just wanted a physical copy, and this was the cheapest. Persona 3 or Persona 3 Reload. I got both here. Let me talk to you a little bit about P3, especially FES. I mean, this was the version I've got, so it's the only one I really knew. Persona 3 was the game that essentially turned me on to RPGs next to Digital Devil Saga. Those couple years that they were around, I was just introduced back into the Shin Megami Tensei world, and Persona 3 just put me in the right place. I can't overstate how good that soundtrack is. I was just playing P3 Reload just a few minutes before recording this video, and oh my god, the music in the dungeon, the Tartarus music, that piano, it's kind of loungy, and then you go into the Velvet Room, you've got that classic iconic aria of the soul, you've got the Iwatodai Dorm theme, which, I'm being honest here, nothing beats the original version of that song. I'll play a clip. The new version, it's just not that good. There's this line where he's like, I'm minding my biz, so mind your own biz. And the lyrics aren't the same. Lotus Juice, I think his name is, love the guy, but that song, they butchered it in the new version. But the original, hot damn, that song is a goddamn masterpiece. It's a vibe. It's like, you just want to sit there and just like, yeah, I'm just not gonna play for a few minutes. I'm just gonna leave this on repeat for a while it plays out. That's a sexy track. Battle theme, everything. Man, Persona 3, that's just the music. I want to talk about the gameplay. The atmosphere in that game is second to none. Well, second to maybe Digital Devil Saga, but we know how I feel about that from my last video that I did. But Persona 3's general atmosphere, you know, when you're in the town sections, Polonium Mall, or the general marketplace area, you've got these little shops, and in the interior of these shops where the social links happen, there's so much attention to detail put into those little sections of the game. Just the branding, the appearance of the outside exteriors of these shops, and I get it. Environment artists, that's their job. Make something believable and lived in. But they really did a bang-up job in making it feel like a real place, or based on a real place at the very least. And then I started going to, when I would go to my mall, and I would see the food court, and I'd see the signs that are out front of them, and some of them just kind of reminded me of some of the shops in Persona 3. The gameplay itself is, we all know Persona's gameplay with the weak and the strong, the resist, the typical RPG mechanics, but the enemy design is amazing, and the actual story is so cool too. You've got this apathy syndrome forming throughout the city, and then you're entering into the dark hour to kill the demons and defeat the enemies and the bosses and get to the bottom of what's happening. And I remember when I first beat this game many years ago, there was a cool twist, and I was like, what is this? What is going on? That's the bad guy? I love that stuff. That was one of the few RPGs that I actually got really into the story on. I'll do a full Persona 3 retrospective at some point, you know, not that I can add to what other people have done already, but I'd just like to put my own little spin on it, talk about my own experience, much like I did with Digital Devil Saga's retrospective as well. But honestly, Persona 3 is such a vibe, and it's such a good feeling. It's so much better than Persona 5. And Persona 4 is awesome, but it doesn't have the same feel to me. Not the same way that Persona 3 does. Maybe it's because this was my first one, maybe because the color scheme is more in line with what I like, the blues. P4, it's very yellow and gray in its color theme, but I really love this one. So don't sleep on Persona 3. PS2 version even, give it a go. If you can find a copy in the wild, give it a go. The next game that I want to talk about is Catherine. Catherine, again, it's also an Atlas game, but this one is actually a really fun game to play with your partner, your girlfriend, or whatever. It's a story about a guy named Vincent who is just not an ambitious guy. He's kind of stuck in life. His long-term partner wants to marry up and maybe start a family, but he's not ready yet. And then a lady walks into the bar that he frequents and kind of flirts with him, seduces him in a way, and by the looks of it, they slept together, and now he's juggling a love triangle. But the story is basically an anime. The gameplay is all puzzles, puzzle sections where you're climbing a tower. I've noticed a theme in a lot of these games with Atlas where there's a lot of towers that you're climbing, but you're basically trying to get through the night so you can live another day, just to do it all over again when the time comes when you go to sleep. Really cool stories, really cool choices. There's a lot of endings in that game, and now, if I'm feeling like I just want to have a fun little sesh, I'll put this game on. I will throw it on easy mode and just go through and make some different choices and get to the end storyline. This is a game that really does take away from my backlog completion ability for sure. Catherine, don't give it a pass. Like I've got two versions of this. One on Xbox 360 when it first came out, and I bought it again recently on the Steelbook edition too. So I can't say enough good things about that game. I keep going back to it at least once a year. It's a ton of fun. The last game I want to talk about is, weirdly enough, one of my favorite games of all time, 3D Dot Game Heroes. Now this one here is very interesting because I guess they call it a Zelda-like. I like it so much more than Zelda games. Zelda's great. I mean, there's a lot going on there with so many different titles, so many different, you know, unique mechanics in the DS games, 3DS games, or Breath of the Wild, whatever. But sometimes you just want to go and just play an old school style Zelda game. And this was really cool because it took all the mechanics and, you know, changed a few of them. You got this massive sword that you can upgrade. It's a screen clearing sword, but every time you get hit, you kind of lose that ability until you level it up again. But this game is really cool. It's 3D pixel art basically, and the music's very nostalgic. It's got, you know, the over top maps, the sprites move. Well, sprites are 3D models, but they kind of move with that little like frame by frame animation. The enemies are challenging. The world itself is pretty challenging to get through and get around. Overall, it's just a blast of a game. If you want to play a very basic, like just Zelda-like game, and you're kind of sick of Zelda games as they are, if you can track down a copy of this, you got to give it a go. It's gonna scratch that itch like no other game can, and it just looks cool. It makes you feel how you remember the games look if they were 3D. You know, when you're a kid, you look at these games and you think to yourself, this looks amazing, and as you get older, you have that fond memory in your brain still. Well, when you look at them now, you're like, oh, okay, still beautiful pixel art, but in my brain, it was so much more detailed because your brain kind of fills in the blanks, right? Well, with 3D Dot Game Heroes, it kind of does all that work for you and makes you feel like, yeah, this is how I imagined it would look in 3D when I was a kid, if it was that way made. So that's what I got for you today. Just this fun little video about the challenges of dealing with your backlog when you got stuff that you just love to go back to, along with your Game Pass library, but that's a different video for a different time. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. I just wanted to say thank you so much to those of you who return. If you're new, welcome. I hope you can find some value in what I'm putting out here, just some general love for the games we grew up on and some of the current stuff too. So if you like what I'm doing here, please shoot me a subscribe, add a like, throw a comment down below, start a conversation. I always like to engage with people who leave a comment. It's fun, it's good, and I welcome you all. So thanks so much. Have a great whatever it is that you're doing right now, and we'll see you on the next one.